So as promised, here I have my circuit. I don't know whether you can see the temperature sensor. That's a DS18B20 sensor. It has 3 pins. On the far left pin we have the VCC, in the middle we have the data pin that have connected the orange cable, and then on the far right we have the ground pin which have connected the blue cable. Let's follow the connection all the way to a Raspberry Pi processor. So as you can see, this is a Raspberry Pi 3 model B, and you can see where I've ported my VCC cable. That's the 3 volts. It goes onto the pin you're seeing right there, and then the ground pin is normally pin number 3 on the Raspberry Pi. And then you can see the data cable, which is orange. So that's precisely my connection. You will note that I don't have a pull-up resistor on the sensor, attached to the sensor. I'll explain that a bit later. It's because the Raspberry Pi has a capability of enabling a pull-up resistor without using a physical resistor. You'll see that in the code. So that's it about the circuit. Then I'll show you the code. So we start by importing the Raspberry Pi GPIO library. That's the line you can see over there, import as GPIO. After you've imported that library, the other thing you need to do is to set your GPIO pin. So I'm using GPIO 14 for my data line. GPIO 14 on the Raspberry Pi is this orange cable. You can see where it connects to on the Raspberry Pi. So you set that, and then we declare GPIO numbering. So there are two ways of pin numbering on the Raspberry Pi. You can either use the GPIO pin numbering, or you can use the board pins. Like the way the pins are arranged, you can count them. So that's another way of numbering your pins. But I used GPIO numbering, that's why I've called it GPIO 14. Then this GPIO 14, on this last line, we are setting this GPIO 14 as an input. Remember, we'll be sensing temperature, and then once we sense that temperature, we send the raw data to the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi considers that as an input. That is data that is going inside the Raspberry Pi. So we set our pin as an input. You can see GPIO.in, and then we declare that it will have a pull-up resistor. So the way you declare that it will have a pull-up resistor is you say pull underscore up underscore down, and then we are setting that you are initializing that pull-up resistor to up. So that pin will have a pull-up resistor, and we will initialize it to high or up. So that's it as far as the code is concerned. So let's run this code. Let's run this code. If there are no errors, it should execute successfully. It didn't throw out any error, so that's perfect. Then I'm going to open the terminal so that we can now begin to monitor our temperature. There we go. There we go. I'm going to maximize that. So we have our terminal over there. Then sorry about that. So that's our terminal.